Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. Oh my god, this is an ugly mug. Anyways, I'll try to fix it. There? No? Okay. Alright, that should be fine. Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa and I am one of your co-hosts for this show. Welcome to episode number 40 of Down in the Valley. Holy crap. Like, I always say the name of the episode, but I just never believe how far we've gotten. But anyway, that's something completely off of topic. Welcome to Down in the Valley, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check them out at the BGNFM on Twitter. Be sure also, they're also on Facebook at the BGN as well. Check out their website, bgn.fm, where you can find our podcasts as well as other USL podcasts that are really, really good in quality. So be sure to check them out. Be sure to support them. They do they work just as hard, if not harder than us, to bring in good quality USL content. So be sure to go and support them in any way that you can. Also, be sure to follow us on our social media at Down in the RGV on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook as well. And on YouTube, obviously, since you're already watching us here, we are at youtube.com/Down in the Valley. I do have to say, though, that downintheRGV.com, our website, is down at the moment. So because of that, I'm not going to be plugging it in at this moment, because I'm not going to be sending you to a website that doesn't work. But we are trying to fix that, so hopefully we should have it back up really, really soon. And be sure to check out also BGN Written. That's where our collaborator Ray Silva writes his articles on the RGVFC Toros with his segment called Orange Blocks. And also be sure to follow our friends at Last Word on Soccer, where my co-host Jacob writes his articles on RGVFC. And speaking of Jacob, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Looking forward to talking about the RGVFC Toros because, I mean, what's better than talking about them after a win?
I could say one thing, but it's step by step, pretty much. I was gonna say it's talking about the Toros after a championship, but I mean, well, you know what I mean. But I definitely agree with you. Anytime your team wins, it just makes you feel good. Especially the way that they've been playing in the past couple of weeks. It makes you understand or see that there are some positives. We've talked about it many times. There are so many positives on this team right now that it was just going to be a matter of time when we got to see their true potential. It's a shame that it was a little bit late into the season, but I mean, at least there's been progress that has been made.
Exactly. That's what you want to see is progress. We've talked about it a lot on this show, but it just goes to show what this team is based off of. It's based off of you get these young players, might be immature coming in, soccer-wise, basically. Mm-hmm. But then, after the season is done, you see how much potential they've got. You've seen how much they've grown, which is absolutely Houston wants to see. And at the end of the day, honestly, is to get these players to the MLS.
I think I can definitely agree with that. I mean, the way this partnership is set up, that's what it is. And I think, like we were told when we were described how this organization is run, that's one of the things that keeps on motivating these players is the fact that if they play well here at RGV, they're gonna have people from Houston, watching them and tracking their progress. And I think that serves like a lot of some good motivation for them to continue to do good at RGV.
Definitely for that. Yeah, the motivation is key. That's what gets our players going. That's why they kind of have a sense of urgency in a way. like, look, even though we're out of the playoffs, I can still impress people. I can still impress the front office of Houston and even other MLS clubs that kind of potential, because when Real Monarchs are in the same boat, kind of, when they face us. This is not only just watching them play, it's also watching our players play. And so if they like what they see, well, then they could probably talk to Houston Dynamo for maybe a little bit of an offer, and that's huge for our players.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. And it's come, I think, in the last couple of days where... and I really wanted to talk about this today, but a little bit later on, because we want to talk a little bit about the match at first. But you kind of start seeing, this gradual improvement in the way this organization, the Houston Dynamo, have started to make some changes to make this pipeline better. I mean, now, we mentioned it many times, obviously, they haven't gotten our players as often as last year. They have continuously brought in players from the Dynamo first team down to RGV to get some minutes, whether it's Connor Donovan, whether it's Ruiz Gil, Andrew Wenger, Adam Lundqvist, obviously Mames in the beginning, and so on and so forth. Chris Sides, Tyler Derrick. So they are, contrary to what we thought last year, I think this year we come to realize that the Dynamo really does care about the well-being of RGVFC. They just needed some sort of stability, and I think they're on their path to get it. Just take a look how the Dynamo first team is doing now. Cabezas is back. A.G. De La Garza is back. So you're starting to see the players that should be the starters, and so now they won't have to dig into the parts bin because they're putting their backups to start because our starters were injured. So now we're starting to see more of, like, for example, those that aren't used in the first team, instead of them hogging them like they did last year with Charlie and Malky, they said, okay, go get some minutes. We know that you need some minutes. And for example, because of that also helps out the way the young guys are being developed, because they have taken, and this comes from a good source, they have gone outside their line of duty, per se, to go out to these young guys, the Cordies, the Michael Nelsons, the Kyle Adamses, Manny Padillas, and talk to them, giving them pointers, giving them suggestions on how they can be better on the pitch, off the pitch, and everything in between. So what we gained this year out of this relationship is not something that stops once the 90 minutes are done. This was something that happened every day during the week. And I really would like to thank these Dynamo players for knowing what their role is, that even though they're not with the Dynamo first team, that they're down in the second division playing, getting some minutes, you name it, they have remained professional, and they have taken it to their hands to make sure that these young guys are ready, or continue to be readied up whenever the Dynamo really need them. Whether it's Open Cup, whether it's CONCACAF Champions League, or MLS Cup. We don't know how that's going to work. We need to find out what happens in the offseason. We talked about that last week and the week before. But change has come, just like Sean mentioned many times, and I didn't believe him at first, but I think we have seen some decent change, that hopefully this momentum continues for next season.
Exactly. It's a prime example. Like, yeah, you gave an example of just Chip has gotten to this year. And we kind of knew it going in, especially when we got the news that Tyler Derrick was coming down. Sean mentioned how much of a role model Tyler Derrick can be, especially when you're not on your game and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Prime example of Chip can and has brought. And then, of course, we talk about the offseason as well. And I do believe after we got Carlos Mall, even if it's for a loan for the next season, I do expect us to get a lot of these young players. And who knows, maybe we can find another, because I know that we are not shy of finding one of those like we had last year. I'm trying to think of who left from Mexico on a Mexican. Yeah, exactly. Lucatero. And we all knew this man, something special. Same with Jose Escalante. If we can get another one that's as skilled as him for next season, that's going to be huge as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do have Chuy Enriquez, and we do have Carlos Osmal that can play there. But I think my biggest concern has been the bench. I think our depth in number or in number of players, I think we're good enough. But as far as quality-wise, I think we're still lacking in that department. Because whenever we've had Chuy, Aldo, Carlos Osmal, Todd Warden, Matias Alivar, just to name a few, who tend to be starters, whenever they've been off, when they've done rotations, a lot of the times those young guys, those backup players, have pretty much lacked. We saw that 2 weeks ago with Reno. 4-0. Yes, I do understand that a lot of these players had not played together in a while. But I just feel like we need to have some sort of balance, or not balance, but for example, the level of play between starters and your backups has to be at a similar level or at a minimum level, that whenever you have to get rid of a backup and you have to bring in somebody from up top, the disparity of quality is not very apparent. And right now, it is very apparent.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, and we've said it, even we said it on Saturday. These last two games basically will show who's going to end up staying and who's probably going to get backing. Or if you kind of get my reference there, not reference, yes, but just because no matter what, any good soccer player can play with anyone on a pitch. It's not just little things that you need to learn for that player. The player likes the ball specifically at this time. Yeah, we get that. Player can basically say, yeah, you're my teammate. I'm going to go out there no matter what. And, of course, give that extra effort. We've seen our bench warmers play, question them sometimes, and I still am questioning a couple of players that are on this squad. Of course, I don't really want to name some names, but I agree, too, that in the long run, I think it's better for us to get rid of them and just not obviously start from scratch, but look for better players for better depth to make even Houston Dynamo club that they're getting even better players. Yes, of course, who really wants to come down when most likely they're going to end up, since the USL rebranded, they're not going to end up playing in the championship. So, yeah, I'd like to see some more changes depth-wise, and I'd like to see a couple of players go.
So let's hold on for to that thought for just a couple of minutes. I think it might be good to start talking about this Saturday's match, as well as the USL's YouTube channel. But what did you see out of this team this Saturday?
I saw a fight. I saw that they weren't going to give up and draw this game because, yeah, they got off to an early lead. All three of us could basically tell that they were a bit slow to react after they scored that first goal because they were kind of still celebrating. Mm-hmm. But once they, sure, they did a goal go through, and it was tied 1-1 versus Fresno. Mm-hmm. They didn't care that they had scored. It was basically like it was a 0-0 game, and they knew that they still had to fight, push for another goal, and sure enough, they did, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I think
that's really what I saw.
What I do have to agree with you on that. I mean, how many teams have we seen where as soon as when you're dominating, because RGVFC, as far as chances created, was dominating in those couple of minutes. When you're dominating the most, you score a goal, then all of a sudden you give up a goal on a set piece. You know, a lot of other teams would just they would lose their concentration. RGVFC didn't. I mean, they said, okay, we got scored on, we're not letting it happen again. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it helps when you have a player like Tyler Derrick commanding out there in the back beneath the three posts. It helps. Trust me, it does. He's got so much of a veteran presence. He's got leadership, and it's something that we have seen in the Dynamo days. I mean, he has a command of the area, and he'll tell everybody, whether it's Connor, whether it's Kyle, whether it's Omar Ontiveros, or whether it's Sheldon Sullivan, he'll tell them, hey, you need to be here, you need to be here. And they understand that, and they listen to him. And they just kept on continuing to look for that goal. They had a couple of opportunities. They had a lot of shots. I mean, if you look at the stats of that match, the Toros had where are you? Here you are. Shots. They had 24 shots. They had 24 shots on, and then 10 of those on target. So they were looking for opportunities to look for the goal. They didn't settle back. They didn't, you know, and even through that, they still had a majority possession. So the Toros were not scared. The Toros did not have stage fright. And that's one of the things that we, if I recall correctly, that we mentioned on the live stream for the pregame show. We talked how some of these players, it looked like they had some sort of stage fright when they came in. And these guys on Saturday, they're like, this is my house, and I don't care who you are, you're going to respect my house. And that's exactly what they did. And then right up in the end, until right up in the 84th minute, got a beautiful play started by Connor Donovan. Long ball towards Chuy Enriquez. First touch with a header towards Carlos Esmal. With just one touch, you know, leaves the defender, you know, heading over to San Benito. And just slots the ball right past the goalkeeper. Beautiful goal. And they're like, we're not giving it up. We're not giving up the game.
Yeah. It was a really impressive game all around, considering the fact that Fresno FC, team, if I'm not mistaken, they're fighting for playoff spots, and when I say spots, they're fighting for better playoff spots. If I'm not mistaken, they're probably in the playoffs. So it was
let me
something like that. So it was a big win. Technically, they're be better than our team on paper for sure.
Actually, they were. No, I think they're out of. Yeah, they're out of playoff spots. They're in 13th. They are in 13th. We are in 14th. They are actually 2 points ahead of us, and I think that by that, even if they had won, they were still out of a playoff position, because playoff position right now is St. Louis with 49 points, and there's only 6 points left, and they had 36. So they had gone to 39, 42, 45. Yeah, they were out of playoffs already. But even then, this was a team that pretty much we ended up in a tie in their field. So this is not to say that Fresno is a bad team. I think every team in the USL has their moments. They have their talent, but just some have more talent than others. I don't know why that sounded like something from Animal Farm. Oh yeah, that's right. Because it's in Animal Farm, it's like all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. But I'm going off topic once again. So one of the biggest question marks in this match, and this happened at the moment that Ronnie brought us the lineup. We look at the lineup, and all of a sudden we see Omar Ontiveros playing as a right back. Yes, right back. We had never seen Omar Ontiveros play in that position. And frankly, he looked decent out there.
He really did. He looked really good. Because if you're able to do that, you are already a pretty skilled player.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I say that? Because a skilled player is able to play almost anywhere the coach puts him. Obviously, some players are different than others, and what I mean by that is some players can actually position, and some players can play, let's say, multiple, like 2 to 3 positions, which is mainly either in the backfield or the front field with or left wing or right wing, something of that nature. So yeah, that's to have, and with him looking good, that's something that we need to keep for next year as well, to kind of that depth to where we can move things around and everything can still be good.
It kind of reminds me of one of the things that Coach Echeverri said after the match, because I asked him about that. He said, "How did you see Omar Ontiveros, in that position?" And one of the first things that he did mention was the fact that they needed to pretty much prepare somebody in the defense that to be a little bit versatile in their positions. He says, we saw that this season with the Dynamo because of all the injuries. He had Machado playing as a right back, Kevin Garcia playing right back. And so why not prepare them at this stage, even though we don't need it, kind of prepare them to get used to that position, to kind of make his abilities, more valuable to the Dynamo with that versatility, because you never know when we might need it again. And like I said, you said, he looked really good. I think he looked really good. There were just some instances that Coach Echeverri said that he looked like he was his balance was a little off. But other than that, he didn't make any major mistakes or anything like that. And I really enjoyed that, because it just proves that Omar is talented. And it's so much better when that talent is a native of the Rio Grande Valley.
That's the best part about all this. Yeah, native of RGV. That means not only was he before then, but now we've got this player from here. Way, if on to that, especially from people down here, and realizing this guy, if I train hard and do like that, then we'll have a lot more native coming into RGV having a chance to go to the MLS if they're that successful. It's just a good story right off the bat.
Can you imagine the impact that the signing of a potential signing of Omar Ontiveros to the Houston Dynamo would make, not only for the Valley but also for the Toros? Do you think that if that does happen, people are going to respect the relationship between the Dynamo and the Toros a little bit more? Or you think it's still not going to be enough?
Well, until I think the key is until RGVFC win a championship, it's not going to be anything like that. Won't really be that significant. In the long run, people love a team that wins championships. And no matter what, if they see, these really making it to the playoffs that often, and if they make it to the playoffs, they'll get knocked out in like the second round or so. Obviously, it's still going to be those fans that will disregard that players from down here that were raised down here and trained all the way up. Mm-hmm. That's still going to – they're just going to forget that and say, look, this team's still not doing that well in their competition. And so, well, no. Well, guess what? You have this player that's now maybe your leading goal scorer or close to it for this season. So think of it that way, but of course they won't. So I really don't think it will ever be enough until RGVFC is successful.
It just puts me to think that this might be, because here's the interesting part, and that is, if you pay attention to the RGVFC social media accounts, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, look at the comments. When the Toros were doing bad, when they were losing horribly, and just a couple of weeks ago, what were we talking about? A bunch of bashing, a bunch of lack of respect to the players, to the coach. And then what happened now that we started winning again? Nothing. It leads me to think that maybe a lot of these fans, the minority, the vocal minority, the squeaky wheel, if you want to call them like that, they're only paying attention to the team to see when they can come out and talk about them. The fact that we wanted to analyze some of the reasons that came out on Facebook why fans are not supportive of the Toros. It came out in a Spanish Facebook page that covers Rio Grande Valley soccer, and I just thought a couple of interesting things. Number one, that there were a lot of comments on that publication, which I thought was interesting, in Spanish, obviously. But number two, that some of the concerns were legitimate, but others were like completely off the mark. And I think you're going to get a kick out of some of them, which is why I wanted to bring it up, because not only do we want to address these issues as a fan podcast and bring it up to the public. Number two, we also want the organization to know, hey, this is happening, and we know you're fixing this, but we want our fans to know that you guys are listening to those concerns as well, or are addressing it. There are some issues that they are addressing. There are some issues right now that they're not addressing yet. But we still have an off season, a complete off season to work on these things. and hopefully you'll find this conversation interesting to see, and maybe you guys have some suggestions. What the Toros can do to make the fan experience better on the stadium and outside the stadium. By the way, the U.S. women's national team is defeating Mexican national team 1-0 goal of Megan Rapinoe. So just leaving it out that they're in halftime right now. So let's go on with this topic since we already touched up upon it. This is gonna be, I guess this is gonna be a kind of like a short show. After this, we'll be talking about the game on Saturday against the Tulsa Roughnecks. And so the publication, which was in a Facebook page called Solo Fútbol RGV, it says it's the end of the season. Which, by the way, it's the end of the home matches, not the end of the season. Just throwing it out there. It's the end of the season for Toros RGVFC. With the last match at home, the planning for next season begins, which leads me to ask, what's up with the fans? Where are they? What are the necessary changes does this team need to identify themselves with the fans? What do you think should be the change and what should continue? Before I go on,
the days of kind of Bert Garcia, and right as Bert Garcia left, a mess up. I mean, the first real event that we had that was soccer based, besides obviously RGVFC, at doubleheader match, was moved an hour
earlier
back or whatever, and not a lot of fans even knew and not a lot of fans knew that their ticket could get them into watching some more soccer. And so that was already a mess, because that could have been a really good crowd. Instead, it was just not that great of a crowd, even for both matches. And so that was already part one of the kind of failure of trying to get fans in. That needs to change. And one thing that has already started to happen was one thing that we asked for, which was meet the players. A couple of players were at, if I'm not mistaken, I forget where it was. I'd have to look.
It was at a Metro PCS in McAllen, and it was David Cabrera and the Team Monday that were out there at that location, waiting for fans, to come in and meet and greet them. I'm not sure at this moment how many people went. It will be interesting to find out. But from what I saw on social media, the reactions to it just wasn't that great.
I mean, it's something that was kind of out of the blue as well. Because if we saw on social media, it wasn't that, I guess, blue, really. And so that's tough. You can't make things last minute. You can't say, oh, we're going to have this now. A week in advance. Like a cool thing that they did, I think it goes on anymore, was, the rocket launch from Arena. And before it kind of ended, they had this really cool meet and greet, and it was out for like a month, where they said, oh, you can meet and greet players at when main event was brand new at the main event. It's Houston Rockets right there. And of course, some players were there because they were alums. So that was a perfect thing. Like that needs to be set in stone way in advance instead of a last minute thing. Just scheduling like that, it's getting there, but it just needs to be much better with how they organize it.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. maybe I'm just kind of being a little bit too hard on the fans. Maybe I'm just a little bit tired of seeing empty bleachers. Tired of seeing people out in the negative and not when things are positive. Maybe it's that, and I mean, you do actually have a point on that when it comes to timing. Timing just wasn't great because it was like, was it an hour before they were supposed to start the meet and greet? That's when they announced it on social media. So I hope a lot of people went to it to know them. I think my answer to this question, not only is it what you mentioned, but also should be how the relationship with the media. And I'm not talking about the ones that are always out there. Whether it's the Monitor, which now we'll have to find out what's going to happen now that Greg Lucas is going to be gone. And he's already gone. I mean, he's already covering UTSA. It didn't even last long. Like, it was like that, right after that match, like the next day, he was already talking about UTSA. So, thank you, Greg Luca, if you happen to listen to us. Thank you for everything you did with the Toros. We really appreciate it. I think you left the bar really, really high in terms of Toros coverage. And whoever is going to replace you, he's got big shoes to fill. And not only them, but I think us. I think we have to go above and beyond, especially since we are 100% dedicated to this team. But what I was going at is, not the relationship with us or the Monitor, but more along the lines of relationship between that local media that does not schedule their time to cover this team. Talking about your Televisas, Telemundos, Channel 4, Channel 5. I mean, when have you ever seen them? Just in the beginning. You have to, we understand, scheduling, timing is of an issue with these organizations. They only have so many employees they can pretty much coordinate. My thing here is more along the lines of make it appealing. The organization needs to make it appealing to these news organizations. That way they can dedicate some of their time to come to the matches, go to the post-game press conferences, and cover the team. Because and I'm talking about us at Down in the Valley, we have such a limited audience. Whereas Channel 4, Channel 5, Telemundo, Televisa, Univision, they have thousands. They have thousands of people watching their evening news, watching their nightly news, their morning news, whatever. And so this is an opportunity to get the team name out there, because there's still people that have no idea about the Toros. Mm-hmm. They have no idea. And I think the worst part is that they don't have an idea how this organization is run, why it works like it does. Thankfully, we've had Sean to kind of tutor us in that aspect. But who else talks about that? Greg would talk about it sometimes. But, I mean, let's be real. How many people nowadays bother to read a newspaper? Very few. Most of the people in the Rio Grande Valley, they watch TV. They watch sound bites. Just 30 seconds, a minute at most of a sound bite. That's what they get their news. So we have to make it appealing for these organizations to go out there and do their job in covering their local team. Because this is our team. This is part of the Rio Grande Valley. Whether you want to or not, whether you believe to or not, this team is representing the Rio Grande Valley. And you as a news organization, if you are a sports journalist, I figure it'd be respectful to the organizations that are trying their best, whether it's the Toros, the Barracudas, FC Brownsville, that are trying hard to gain an audience, gain a fan base. But if you don't give them a platform to expose themselves, how are they gonna build a fan base? Which leads to, how are you gonna get ratings? I mean, you say, oh, we can't cover them because, let's say, not many people talk about it, or not many people interact with Toros news. Okay? Very few people don't even know about this team. The more you push it out there, the more, and the fact that you are setting up a space for this team, it kind of helps with the relevancy of said team. Like, hey, you know, this team is actually here to stay. Hey, might as well just give it a shot. More people go, more people become interested in this team. More people are gonna start interacting with links, with the videos, with the tweets, with the Facebook posts, with the Instagram posts. They're gonna be interacting because they're starting to fall in love with this team. Or they're actually going to care about learning more about this team. But if you don't put them out there, and people don't know what they are, and they're gonna be like, wait, who are they? And so, because it's just a soundbite, they're just left with the, who are they? And they don't see any more of it. Oh, well, okay, I guess it just wasn't important. So they're not going to give importance to this team. And I think that's my, you can call it a rant, but it's more, I don't think of it as a rant. I think if it was a rant, you guys have seen me rant, whether it's here on Generation Orange. That's a rant, and I think it's been mild. It's more of, this is what I see, and this is what could be done better to get this team out there. Because right now, what we are struggling with is the relevancy of this team. You know, making the brand, the Toros brand, a household name to the Rio Grande Valley. And right now, it's not at that level yet. It takes getting the players out there, meeting the fans, having a casual relationship with the players, getting the team out in the media, whether it's on radio, which they've started doing, whether it's on TV, which I've seen with Telemundo. I'm not sure about any other channel, and obviously as well as up there on the pitch, having good games and making sure the fan experience is good. There's progress in there, but there's still a long way to go. And we really have to work on the fans that are, what's the word I'm looking for? That they're reluctant to open their hearts, open their minds to this team. And there are many out there.
Yeah, and I mean, so they can go back to saying this as well now too. Well, actually, before I go into that point, because I was going to talk about, the whole reason that the USL Championship is going to be in, because ESPN got the rights to that or whatever. So that's a cool thing. I would say that make it to the playoffs. And that's how you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. But let's start of when this team arrived. For RGV News, it was pretty good. They got a good amount of fan base, and it was good because they also had the myth and the legend of Clay, the Channel 4 sports anchor, basically cover this team. Mm-hmm. Greg Luca as well. It helped. but they had Clay because Clay, I remember, was here for the big events. He was here for the playoffs, here for that scrimmage versus UTRGV in Houston. Interviewed Coach Wilmer Cabrera on how, the between RGVFC and Houston and what he's seen. It was big. And then, of course, we all know that from then the news died down as all the players got shifted out. And then, of course, Clay leaves Channel 4. And so then the media got even lower.
Yep.
So that right there says a lot. This squad, how they take this. They care about high school sports and especially high school football a lot more than anything else.
So you think this might be more of a cultural issue? When I mean as far as that our youth are focal point of the market is pretty much the age group where they have accepted football, American football, as the main sport of the United States rather than soccer. As far as the market with the that watches the news, if you kind of get what I'm saying, which is why their main focus right now as media is covering high school sports as much as possible. Because, I mean, you take a look, I mean, you have multiple radio shows every Friday night from like 9 till, I guess you can say like 11, just talking about high school football. You have one in Spanish. You have, I believe there was one in English as well. And I think, and the one that's in KGVT, that one is kind of, I guess you can say, kind of bilingual, because you hear them talking in both languages in that show, Football Scoreboard. And then so much interaction with trying to follow. Oh, how did Sharyland do, or how did Mackay do? How did Memorial? How did Edca Chelsea, La Máquina Amarilla? How did they do? It's built up such a fan base in the Rio Grande Valley because it's just become tradition. Then that's what it is. It's just we're competing against tradition. And I think we need to understand that if we want to compete for ratings, we have to give it the dedication, the attention to instill in the fans that soccer's here to stay. Soccer is, we all know that soccer is a popular sport across the world. It's that we need to make it form a tradition in the Rio Grande Valley, just like high school football is. And whether it's the Toros, FC Brownsville, or the Barracudas, we have to reach out to them in many channels, so that way they can fall in love with this team, and that includes stability. These teams need stability. What good does it do to try to build that tradition of making this an American soccer fanatic region if your teams are folding every 2-3 years? It doesn't do us any good. It doesn't do the reputation of American soccer any good. I mean, take a look. I mean, you have the Bravos, had the Grandes. After the first year, they folded as well. Now we have the Toros. Now, is it third time's its charm or 3 strikes you're out? It's up to them. But I think that's the biggest thing that's the focus. I think that needs to be. That's the main focus. We have to make American soccer the household name to the point where in 5 years, maybe 10 years, American soccer, professional soccer, becomes tradition in the Rio Grande Valley. That people will spend $5 or maybe at most, what is it, like 25, the most expensive ticket, not including suites or something like that?
I believe that's true. And before you get into that, that's also another problem. It's like, really, we're going to pay season tickets when also it's just don't do that much or don't get that much benefit. And then, of course, also the ticket prices for just a regular seat are going to be 4 people, as in 20 times 4 right there. You're paying about $60 just for one game. So you don't sell out a crowd. The tickets just need to be cheaper. Yes, it's a state-of-the-art stadium, but at the same time, this is a bit, and I think you'll find yourself in a better situation than before.
But how cheap can you really make them? I mean, unless you want to charge a general
$5.
Yes, yeah. But my point is, if you're unless you're going to be charging the general admission price for everything, and even then, I think it's a slippery slope. And the reason I mention it is because that's one of the things that Brett Zalaski mentioned when he was on Generation Orange a month ago. He said, "Be careful. It's usually not a good idea in the long term to cheapen your tickets just to bring in fans into the stadium." And he's talking about regular day tickets, a game to game basis. Now, season tickets, yes, definitely need to be cheaper, or give us more perks. Give the season tickets more perks to make that price worthwhile. I mean,
yeah.
There's really nothing right now. The only thing is like what, the 15% discount at the store, at the team store, and that's the only thing. That's the only thing that comes out on the top of my head. What can we add? Obviously, we can do meet the team night. That's always a good possibility. You can also do I don't know, some exclusive events. Maybe some have exclusive practices where season ticket members can go and watch practice. Make it public. That helps as well. Do, I guess, a giveaway like once every 2 months, maybe, like for it's little things like that, or have the points, have the point system that the Dynamo has, where you earn points for every time that you go to a game, and you're able to cash in those points for merch. Maybe when you have enough points, you get a signed shirt by the players, or a signed ball. Anything like that. Anything like that works. Anything is better than nothing. And I think we need to work on making sure that the value of these tickets is at the point or more, the perceived value more than the monetary value. Right now, it's kind of like this, and people aren't buying. People are not taking the bait with that. So Sloth, that is definitely another good suggestion. If there's not going to be any perks because we know that the finances of minor league teams aren't that great, okay, just make them cheaper. Just make them cheaper compared to buying tickets for the whole season, and that's in that general location. Because I think the biggest mistake that happened last year was that they set up a price for X amount of dollars. My parents in 2017 were in 113, I believe. Section 113, they had season tickets there. And I believe the price... Oops, sorry about that. And I believe the price for the whole season or those tickets was like $250, I think, or something around there. And then they lowered the prices in the middle of the season. They lowered the prices of the tickets, which, if you would do the math, it would have been cheaper to get the individual tickets rather than the season tickets. This year, I'm not sure what the pricing is, but I think that was a big concern that put off a lot of people that decided not to renew season tickets for this season. I mean, my parents didn't renew. One, we can just mention any random stuff that we think might work, but I think in the analysis of things, you know, if you ask your ex or your current season ticket members, and I think that's another thing. I think that's another thing that's missing from this organization, and I'm getting all into this. Another thing that's missing from this organization is, okay, season ticket members. All right, we're gonna have a meeting. One-on-one with the president, or in this case, the owner, whoever is representing this team. One-on-one with season ticket members and the organization, the front office. All right, what were your experiences this season? Did you like it? Okay, just get suggestions from them. They're the ones that are paying the money. They're the ones that are paying the money to get these tickets. And they'll give you suggestions. Okay, what do you like? Did you think was this enough value? Okay, no. Okay, why? Well, then they'll get suggestions. What better way to get suggestions than the people that are actually using their money? And there's another perk right there, where the season ticket members will actually realize that this organization cares about them, that they're listening to them, that they are planning the future of this team alongside the fan base, and not everything kind of hidden. You guys understand what I'm saying? Whoever's watching right now or listening on the podcast, I think that's the best perk that you can give season ticket members. That they have the exclusive advantage that they are directly making inputs on this organization to make it better, with something that no other person that goes to the match has. They're gonna feel like, what's the word in Spanish is called a socio, but kind of like, for example, like in the stock market, where you own stock and you have the option of making decisions, obviously based on what how much stock you have. That's how much your vote weighs. But you have a direct, with most stock ownership, you have a direct influence in the votes on what the future of the company holds. Why not do it in soccer? Why not do it with your season ticket members?
Wow, you did say a lot there, and I 100% agree. It is true. It's just, we'd like the organization to be a lot more involved, no matter what. Reason for them not to be. I mean, what else are they doing? They're focusing on financial stuff, but at the same time, so, I mean, it's like this because played like Madden, NFL, or games that have this thing called franchise mode. Mm-hmm. Coolest thing ever because it's so real. You get much to price everything because it's up to the fans' reaction. Mm-hmm. If the fans don't like it, and so love about a lot of those games is, you've got that, you know, messing with every little detail like that. That would be cool to have. Of course, yes, it's a minor league team. Who's paying you money? If they don't like things that are happening, well, those season ticket holders, you're going to lose season ticket holder money, which, guess what? The most money that you're going to gain because it's the most expensive things besides the suites. Mm-hmm. So, yes, listening will be what everyone loves. Because it just doesn't happen like that. and hopefully it will more. Next year will be a totally different year for that.
So just as a quick parentheses, guys, U.S. women's national team is defeating Mexico women's national team 4-0. Latest goal was I think it was
latest goal was Rapinoe.
Megan Rapinoe? Was it? Yeah. Team. So we had 5-0. 5-0 now.
We're almost 6-0 right now.
Yeah, it just happened two minutes ago. So you had Megan Rapinoe, Julie Ertz, Alex Morgan, Tobin Heath, and Megan Rapinoe again in the 70th minute. So 5-0 USA versus Mexico. And this is for the CONCACAF Women's Championship. You know that tournament that's going to be played at HEB Park this weekend? Yeah, that one. It's a shame that we couldn't get Mexico down here. I think it would have been excellent. And that just pretty much puts pressure on Mexico that they have to pretty much do their best play against Trinidad and Tobago and Panama if they don't want to be eliminated. That would suck. Right. But if it does happen, it is well deserved, because at the end of the day, you know, you're supposed to be the second strongest federation, men and women's, in CONCACAF. And if you can't...
Now it looks like it's going to be Canada that are the second best in CONCACAF, even in men's and women's, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Will be interesting to see how the Rio Grande Valley is going to embrace the women's national teams. I think my friends bought tickets to go see the game on Friday, and I think so I think we can. Hopefully we can see a minimum of the number of fans that went usually go to see the Toros. Hopefully we can at least have that amount of fans go out there and watch these national teams. Yes, they're none of the nationalities are people that usually live in the Rio Grande Valley, but I mean it's soccer, it's professional soccer, it's CONCACAF. This is official CONCACAF matches. What more of a reputation do you want from the Rio Grande Valley? And I think it's time for us to kind of step up and support that this organization is trying to put Rio Grande Valley on the map. Whether it's in the USL, whether it's with CONCACAF, I mean, they brought in knockout stage CONCACAF Champions League to HEB Park. I mean, this organization is trying to work hard to make soccer a household name in the Rio Grande Valley. And so, just give them the benefit of the doubt that this new organization is going to listen to your concerns and make things better for both the fans and for the team. So yeah, that was a parenthesis I wanted to have. So we talked about our answers to these questions. Now let's take a look at some of the answers that were brought up in this thread, in this post on Facebook on Solo Football RGV. So first one says, I went to the last match yesterday at the stadium, and it was a good atmosphere. Everything's good. I cannot complain about anything. Okay, so starts out positive. He also posts a picture where Nico Cordy actually gives him his gloves to that fan. Yeah, Nico Cordy gave him the gloves. I mean, that's an awesome experience to that. The players that are out there on the pitch, you know, they're gifting you something of theirs that they've worn, you know, as a keepsake. That's all. I think that's awesome, and I think we need more of that, honestly. Yes, I do understand that there is some sort of financial limitations when it comes to jerseys or something like that. I know that I'm not sure exactly how it works. I know they have sometimes given out jerseys most of the time for like some occasions, like last year when Justin Bilyeu gave Cordy Garcia, the young guy who was in an accident with a drunk driver and pretty much was in a coma for a couple of months. Justin Bilyeu gave him his match-worn shirt after the match. It was against Swope Park Rangers, and that was the last match at home for last season. So, I mean, we would like to see more of that interaction between fans and the players. Here's one of the more common ones. He says, a couple of local players so that way the fans can identify with this team and that way they can go and support them. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, of course. You also repeat that. I kind of didn't get the full thing, but
yeah. So he said like they want local talent, so that way the fans can identify with the team, and that way they can go and support this team. He also adds in the MASA, which is the McAllen Adult Soccer Association. There are players of high quality. They just need a little bit of a polish and an opportunity. But I think I think that the fans will be hard. It will be difficult for the fans to identify with the team with no local players.
Already, that has kind of been completed in a way, because there will be that coming in a couple of years for sure. We've already gotten an academy for RGVFC. You know, those young player academies, and then of course that school right there where all they do, especially after 3 p.m. to, you've got those players practicing besides the main players that you see on the pitch, besides the first team. So that will happen in a couple of years' time, where we'll even see more. And it's going to stop because there's going to be a lot more players from all around the RGV that will, especially if they see that they've got an opportunity, like we just said, if they see him
Ontiveros
go on to Houston, boost right there. So it will take a bit more time. So that obviously might not be next year. It might not be the following, but for sure in about 2 to 3 years' time, you'll see the rise in players from down here.
Yeah. So continuing on with that thing, there were times I thought I was going to go see good soccer, but after I just went because I had already bought the tickets. Only about 2 or 3 players are salvageable. The others either have connections or something like that. They are low quality, and from then on, I just gave up and forgot about them. They do not put in the effort, or I don't know what's happening. Are you... It just irks me. It irks me.
Yeah, of course.
It irks me.
Of course, like, how long ago was this posted again?
3 days ago.
3 days ago. Okay. That man most likely only watched, I don't know, the start of the season. That's just your casual fan, not even a casual fan. That's just a man that
bandwagon
watched. Yeah. That's about it. He's like, oh, let me see what this is about.
Which by the way, welcome.
Obviously
we welcome them.
But
we welcome them, but don't base your long-term expectations of this team for just a short term. That's what irks me. They have no idea why we are the way we were. They have none idea of that. And they'll go out there, oh, because they suck, or that's blah, 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 blah. They don't know what happened before, and they're out there making these kind of stupid comments. I'm sorry, I'm getting irked up, I'm getting annoyed, but that's just the reality. You have no idea what happened with this team before you started. Why? Because there's very few coverage. Going back to with the media, there's very few coverage. that talks specifically about the relationship and why it works, how it works. People don't know. They say, oh, this is an organization that has a lot of money. This is an organization. But if you guys could understand why this thing is working like that, why this is a long process, maybe you might support this team. But it takes you as a fan to look at yourself and say, I want to take my time and learn more about this team. If I want to say that I'm a fan of this team, I want to know the ins and outs of this team as much as possible. Because that will give me a better understanding of the tactics, better understanding of the decisions that are made, better understanding why our players are being sent to the Dynamo. And you are not going to be making these ignorant comments. I'm just calling it like it is. And forgive me if I'm being too blunt. Forgive me if I offend anybody. But that's my opinion. It's not Jacob's opinion. This is 100% my opinion. Mine. Edson Ochoa's opinion. So if you're going to bash me, bash my Twitter. Ochoa_8. Right there. And tell me why I'm wrong. I am open for discussion.
I mean, should we call Sean in like right now to tell you why you're wrong? Because I mean, I agree. I get what your point is. And it is true. It can all go back to coverage where we just don't have that in-depth coverage that everyone else has for just basically high school football. Mm-hmm. And Twitter daily, too, just like you. And what do I see more from the Monitor and from other guys that have, and girls that have technically covered somewhat of soccer football posts? That's about it. And a lot of that, especially for RDV, like let's say KRGV or, well, covering, yes, they cover local news, which fake news. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, do you see really any coverage of RGVFC? Nope, not even of Barracuda. So it goes back to all of that. It can go, yeah. Those fans have no idea, or fans have no idea of what they're talking about because, I mean, who blames them? Full of games and don't know the team because the team isn't really covered locally. And yes, of course, it can go back to saying you need your team to be almost nationally recognized just a bit. That means make the playoffs. Well, guess what? It's probably not going to happen because, well, team is. And me and you both know the way it is. And, of course, they don't.
So what you're saying, this is a complete, what's the phrase I'm looking for? I guess we can pretty much allude to the circle of suck that Jay Adelberg always mentions on Gen Orange, which is the fans don't go out there and support or know more about this team because there's no coverage, or because there's no coverage of this team. And there's no coverage of this team because the fans are not interacting with this team because of the results. And decisions aren't made correctly in the fan base point of view because there's no interaction from the fans directly with the organization. It's just a huge circle. Remind me what that phrase is. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle in this organization, and hopefully we can find a solution to cut this vicious cycle and turn things for the better. I just feel like with this kind of comment, he's saying it like he knows 100% what's going on with this organization, and that's what irks me. And that's why I say, you know, open up your mind and learn more about this team. I don't know everything about this team either. And so more often than not, I'll say stuff that is ignorant. And if you call me out, I'll accept it. I mean, Sean knows a lot more of the ins and outs of this organization than I do. I mean, and I said, okay, listen to Sean, and I understand why things are being run that way. If you recall the earlier episodes of this season, I was, this organization stinks, and they don't bring in this, they don't bring in that. You know what? This is going to be a complete crap show. You name it. But now I'm starting to understand that this is a long process, that this isn't just about pouring money into this organization when they can barely put in enough money to the first team, to the Dynamo, because that's the way it's being run. I just hope that a lot more fans are the same way and open up their minds to learn more. Whether it's with us, whether it's with the media, if they ever do start covering even more, or just pretty much paying attention to what the RGVFC social media posts. So, continuing on, I think you're going to like this one. Players of high quality, maybe from the European market of second and third division, more sponsors and publicity.
Yeah.
I do.
For sure, yeah.
I do agree with sponsors and publicity, but in bringing in players, I mean, which it can be done if Matt Jordan, you know, does his job like he has done, but
one can dream for the European second to third division players for sure.
But you can't base a team off of just so here's the thing, and I understand this probably means it's just one or maybe two players, right? Just to kind of build up, you know, the relevancy, because they brought in a player from Europe. And that helps relevancy whether you want to or not. Just take a look at Tigres with Gignac, or NYCFC.
I mean, it's already us with Panama, basically, in a way.
Yeah.
With Carlos Small, that's big.
Yeah. My question with this is obviously just because they're from Europe, and we hold Europe to a higher standard of quality than North America, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be they will do well here in the American style of the way the league is run, the league is played. It might be too physical for European players, you know what I mean? So just because they're from Europe doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to be a plus for the organization. And I think if anything, the way it should be focused on is try to get as many local, try to build up as many American players as possible for the Houston Dynamo first team. I mean, let the Dynamo bring in their out of the country players, their international players, and bring in one or two that'll help sustain this team, and bringing in the quality from there. But for the point is to help build or to help develop the other Americans that are around them, because I think in the long run, what's going to benefit U.S. soccer the most, and we talk about it many times when we talk about the national team, is that 6-0. Alex Morgan in the 80th, is the fact that we feel that we're not building up a lot of American players, especially now in MLS. A lot of people are complaining that we're bringing in too many international players and we're not developing enough American talent. So there's a balance there to be made.
I mean, one thing to say is, hence Charlie Ward. Why do I bring up this name? Well, we went from Europe. Look at Charlie Ward, kind of the reason why we let him go. Yes, besides all the neglection. Is the way that he played? Yeah, it was well. He did play well. But Sean's side now with the whole thing that I don't think he had that extra step because he never really got adjusted to the level of aggression that the United States,
especially MLS, the speed of it.
Exactly. It's so true that this is a totally different game. Yes, it's soccer. Their style. And Europe has theirs.
And think of it this way. You want to see, if you guys want to, I guess you can say you want to see a good example as to why we say that it's different. The speed is so different between in the USL compared to MLS. Why? Because the USL, the pace is a lot slower. It gives the referee more time to analyze what happens in front of him and make a better decision. Whereas in MLS, it's so quickly paced that they have to make a decision just in a blink of an eye, literally. And more often than not, if you don't have enough experience, it's going to be the wrong decision. And that's why there's so much of a problem with pro referees in MLS, because MLS has evolved past the level of pro referees. So, and if that's happening to the referees, if you bring in players that are not going to be used to that kind of play, they're going to suffer as well. I think that's one of the best examples I can give as to why the speed of play is so important, whether a player will make it or not in American soccer. And we saw it. In the USL, Charlie Ward is a beast. In MLS, they believe that he was too slow with his reactions, too slow with whatever, to be good enough in MLS.
Completely agree with kind of the way that they agree of how the situation ended, obviously, because it left Charlie Ward in fumes. But I do agree that be great in one aspect, but if you don't have that extra little something, I guess is what you can call it, then yeah, there's a problem. And so that I believe is what we did see with Charlie Ward, and hence is why he's still in. So when it comes to having players, we do have to be careful. Of course, I do trust Matt Jordan 100%, and also that leads to my other thing. Is Matt Jordan going to be able to focus on us getting these younger players to even make this depth? To see for next season.
Yeah. And other complaints were, that we need, obviously, they said once again, like, oh, we need more local players. There was actually one comment that kind of caught my eye. And that was because he said that he will not support the Toros because he considers them direct competition to the academy, the youth academy that he coaches at. He coaches the FC Dallas RGV Academy. And he said he refuses to support the Toros. He refuses to go to the matches. He refuses to take his kids, his team out to watch the Toros because he considers them a direct rivalry, whether it's through the fact that the Houston Dynamo, that they're affiliated with the Houston Dynamo rivalry, or the fact is just because of the RGV Academy being a direct competition to the FC Dallas RGV Academy. you make your pick.
For sure.
Do you think that's
I've
valid?
seen the word there. It's a complete rivalry for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For either way, but at the same exact time, and it's true. Where is FC Dallas's team? Where is FC Dallas's youth team where this can be really affiliated, especially with USL?
Well, it's coming for D3.
That way, that would be perfect.
Well,
to have kind of
to
these
League
two
One.
things.
Mm-hmm. I think, and there was one of the comments there that I really loved, and that is because he mentioned, I think it's time for these individual youth academies to stop looking at each other as competition rather than being fellow soccer fans, or say, fellow people that are in the world of soccer trying to build up the youth for the American system. Because at the end, we're not building these teams. So in a way we are, but in the grand scheme of things, we're developing these players to be the next U.S. national team stars, whether the male or the female. And I think it's time that these academies look at each other that way, as fellows, rather than rivalries that affect the actual first teams. Yes, you can build up a rivalry. Like, yes, we chose the Dynamo. We support the Dynamo. We hate our guts, you can say. But at the end of the day, at the youth level, if Dallas wins it, if RGV's academy wins a trophy, if San Antonio's academy wins a trophy, in the end of the day, we're going to be happy for the kids. Because it's showing that the process is there. Yes, once they get to the senior team, then yeah, we're going to bash them because they're rivals. But at the end of the day, this all benefits. If more players go from academy to the first team, that all benefits U.S. soccer in general. It adds to the pool of talent for the U.S. men's national team. It's time we need to understand that in that regard and not see each other as like, oh, he's the bad guy, I'm the good guy. That's not how it works. If we don't work together to build a better system, if we're gonna remain cracked and be full of clicks, we're not gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, you said it right there. You said basically is kind of the Orange County FC way. And why would I put it that way? Because when I was on podcast show, they said exactly the same thing. It's like, yeah, we're playing each other this weekend. We're here to try and make this team, to try to make U.S. soccer better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I got to say on for that. It's at the end of the day, we are here to grow the game. That's why we do this podcast as well, to try and grow U.S. soccer, to not only the Toros, but just U.S. soccer in general. Because, yeah, sure, Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Can you blame it because it's Europe? But at the same exact time, growing. It's only about, what, 20 years as a league?
MLS?
Yeah, MLS.
Yeah. Yeah, around
We've
there.
got a ton of time to still grow.
Yeah. And let's not get started
So
on...
that's why we are here.
And let's not get started on USL. I mean, they're even younger. So, there's a lot of growing up. Front office-wise, there's a lot of growing up. League-wise, there's a lot of growing up federation-wise that needs to happen. But the fans need to be involved as well. We are part of that equation. And we need to understand that. We need to work together as Frisco fans, Dallas fans, as Dynamo fans, as Toros fans, as San Antonio fans. We need to work together in the grand scheme of things to make, because at the end of the day, we all get together and we support the red, white, and blue. In the grand scheme of things, as fans of the USL, fans of MLS, fans of UPSL, whatever. At the end of the day, we're out there, for the most part, supporting the U.S. men's national team. And don't get me wrong, I do support the U.S. men's national team. And I've said it many times. I want the U.S., just like I want the Mexican national team to do good, I want the U.S. national team to do good, if not better. Why? Because this is where I have the biggest influence. This is where we are working on. This is where I was born. This is what we're working on to make this team better. What better way than using our voice to lay the foundation on building a better lower minor league system, starting with the Toros, which is where we have our biggest influence. On the NCAA system, which we know for a fact that has done no good or very little good to developing players for the professional level. And we can start working on building a solid academy-based system that works for most people, if not all people. But that's we still have a long way to go, but step by step, we can hopefully get there. All right, so this Saturday the Toros are playing the Tulsa Roughnecks. They are coming into this match losing 2-0 against Reno 1868 at Greater Nevada Field. So they did lose, not as bad as we did, but they did use their starters. Unlike us, we played most of our bench and third stringers. Play at 7 p.m. at One Oak Field in Oklahoma, in Tulsa. What are your thoughts on this? You look at the standings and you see that the Roughnecks are below us in the standings. But what are your thoughts on this game? What do you expect from this game?
Well, I expect Jerson to I don't expect to see the starters out. Be a different starting line for sure. Well, we've got to see who the players are that are going to stay. We've got to see if the team that lost 4-0 can kind of redeem themselves and see if stay or if they just need a lot more growing time or whatever the case may be. So I do expect to see Jorginho James starting in the lineup. Those players of that criterion in a way. And do I expect a win for that? Well, not really, because no matter even what the starters, our starters haven't been that great on the road.
True. That is a good take, actually. But at least we want a decent showing. Maybe if we're going to lose, maybe lose 1-0 and be sure to fight for that 1-0 loss. Make it hard for Tulsa to defeat us 1-0. Not make it easy where they can beat us 4-0. I think that's all I ask. In the end, what I want the starters, our best starters, against San Antonio, at San Antonio. And we want to beat San Antonio in their field to get payback from what they did to us earlier in the season. And hopefully, if we do defeat San Antonio, we can once again eliminate him off of playoff contention like we did in 2016. Oh, that's gonna make the season so much better for me.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we might have a decent showing of fans up in San Antonio. I mean, I don't know about you, Edson, but I think I've heard a bit from our Stampede that people are going. When I say a couple, obviously a lot more than a couple, but the Stampede might end up going. So that might be a good thing. Maybe they can try their hardest to be louder than San Antonio, because also that was kind of embarrassing from I guess the fans really.
You mean Mikey Lopez's family?
Exactly. That was, you and I were probably kind of sick. Well, I know I was kind of sickened from that after the game, not only from the loss, but just thinking, fans.
Yeah. So this is funny because there's this account, I believe it's on Instagram. They posted a meme that says Houston Dynamo's USL team now has an official sponsor when Houston Dynamo themselves don't have a sponsor. And they have the picture, you know, the ones that they've been posting saying thank you to all the sponsors for 2018. And they have one for Pepsi. But they're making it seem that Pepsi's gonna be our new shirt sponsor. And they're making fun of the Dynamo that way. I just thought it was interesting when we all know that our official shirt sponsor right now is Lone Star National Bank. And that's because our owner, that's our owner's business. That's why. So I saw that in the Dynamo Discord. I just wanted to point that out, that fake news. So predictions for this match against Tulsa.
Predictions for this match, I think if we're good enough, I think we'll have a good showing even with the bench. We can come out of there with a 1-1 tie. If we get lucky on, let's say, a penalty or something like that, we get up 1, and then of course they come back and score a goal late. It's kind of what I would expect.
I think my
dagger.
I think my prediction would be 0-0. I think it's going to come out, but we're going to continue. If we're going to be using our bench, if we're going to be struggling at the attack, and I think that's what we've seen from this team. Whenever the starters, whether it's Aldo, whether it's Carlos Esmal or Chuy Enriquez, they tend to struggle putting the ball inside the net. So I think for me, a 0-0 draw would be more possible in my eyes. But hopefully we can at least get we'll have a positive result to kind of take us towards next Saturday, which at San Antonio for the season-ending match. So I think it's pretty much time to call it a day with the show. It was a wonderful discussion that we had today, talking about all these things in regards to fan experiences and things like that. Our Twitters are always open, so if you guys want to pitch in your thoughts on this, you can tweet us at Down in the RGV, or in my personal account down there, Ochoa_8. Tweet at us your opinions. What do you think the Toros can do better? What do you think the fans can do better of in order to help with the support of this team? Other than that, like I said, be sure to check out our friends at the Beautiful Game Network. Follow them on Twitter and on Facebook at the BGNFM. You can also check out their website at bgn.fm, where they'll have our podcast as well as other USL podcasts, so be sure to check them out. Also, be sure to check out Roughnecks Scarves, or the official scarf supplier of USL, MLS, and NCAA. They are the official sponsor for the Beautiful Game Network. So check out their website if you guys would like to order some scarves, or you can actually purchase individual scarves from your favorite MLS or USL team. So there's that as well. Be sure also to check out Down in the Valley Gaming. We will be posting some more videos as time goes on. On there, we are starting to do a lot more streams. I know on Monday, it was Tuesday after Gen Orange, Sean, Cisco, and I live streamed for about 3 hours FIFA 19. It was fun. It got a little heated for a while. But I think it was just fun for all three of us, just there playing. What else? Oh, be sure to follow Last Word on Soccer. Jacob, have you posted anything recently on Last Word on Soccer?
Not recently, but I do plan on doing one at least for the end of the year, an end of the year rundown, because I feel like that I'm going to kind of need to do, because since
Yeah, so be sure to follow them on Twitter. Follow Jacob at Jacob Young 456 on Twitter. Let me get you Last Word on Soccer's Twitter. It is Last Word SC. Follow them at Last Word SC, where you will get the all the latest articles from Jacob regarding RGVFC. Also, be sure, if you guys have any Hispanic friends, any Spanish-speaking friends, be sure to follow Mente Futbolera at Somos la Mente. I am writing articles there for the Dynamo and RGVFC, and occasionally Tigres. So be sure to follow us at Somos la Mente. Be sure to check out or tell your friends to check out our radio show every Sunday at 1 p.m. Where, yes, we don't talk a whole lot about Houston Dynamo, but it really helps us a lot. It really motivates and continues to motivate me to continue to bring coverage of these teams, especially the Dynamo and RGV, to you all, because I think that's what we need. We need more people covering the games, post game coverage, to see what the coach thinks of this team and give a couple of opinions. So be sure to follow at Somos la Mente. Website is mentefutbolera.com, and be sure to like and share on Twitter every time one of my articles on the Dynamo or RGV is posted. I think it helps a lot, and it helps me see, just like it would do with Jacob every time you share and like one of his articles, or Ray's stuff at Beautiful Game Network Written. It helps to see that people are interacting with this. People want to know more. It motivates us to continue to write, to continue to bring coverage to our team, and I think it's very essential. So be sure to follow them as well. Follow us at downintheRGV.com. Follow us at downintheRGV. DownintheRGV.com is down. I will let y'all know when that is fixed. Hopefully it'll be soon. So just be patient with that. Jacob, before we go, do you have any last thoughts?
Not really. Just let's hope for a good showing this Saturday. But of course, we all know the have to be next Saturday, where we can San Antonio FC by making them miss the playoffs.
Oh man, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to try not to laugh, because even though I'm going as a fan, people still recognize me for being with Down in the Valley, but I'm pretty sure the Stampede is going to enjoy that as well. And that's the thing, and this is where I want to end with this show. Yes, we have a rivalry, but let's not be violent towards each other. Let's not follow the steps of Tigres and Rayados. Let's not follow that step. Let's not get to that point. Let's enjoy the soccer. Let's enjoy this game. Let's enjoy this rivalry. Enjoy the banter. You're more than welcome to do banter on social media. You're more than welcome. I do it all the time. But that and wishing aggression or showing signs of aggression towards your rival just because he's a San Antonio fan or X or Y and Z, let's not do that. That does not make us look good. That does not make the USL look good. And that does not make our teams look good. At the end of the day, all the players that are on the pitch, they're doing what they love, and they're gonna be defending the crest that they're wearing. I mean, how many times? I mean, Charlie's completely grateful for everything the Toros did for him, but he knows that right now he is defending the San Antonio crest, and he's going to be a professional about it, and he's going to give it all for San Antonio, and we understand that. So enjoy the game. If you guys are going to go to San Antonio, enjoy the game. Enjoy if we win. Cry if we lose. If we lose and we have San Antonio fans at the stadium completely, just kicking us while we're down, don't let it get to you. If they want to show violence, let the authorities deal with it. Don't give them an opportunity or an excuse to start fighting. It hasn't happened yet, thankfully, but we just want to avoid those kind of embarrassments.
Let's just hope that San Antonio FC doesn't make a fake claim against the Stampede.
Well, if that does happen, we will be sure to try to keep things documented. I can assure you from when I've been there. Well, that's because I wasn't going as supporters group, but because I know I've heard stories from 2016 where the police kind of heckled the Stampede. But hopefully they've grown out of it, and if they don't, we can try to be, I guess you can say, the voice in defending the Stampede. If indeed they did not do anything wrong, which I'm sure. I think I trust our guys at the Stampede that they're not violent. They just go out there, have some fun, have some beers, enjoy the game, support the Toros. They're not going to be doing those kind of things. So we hope that the police do their job. We hope that the 3 supporters groups for San Antonio go for what they're there, and they're not just looking for an opportunity to mess with the Stampede, because that's not what it should be. We're supposed to support our team. Having said that, guys, we really hope you enjoyed this show. Be sure to like and share this video. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And be sure to also follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Store, and Stitcher, where we'll have the podcasts up. I know I've been behind in posting the podcast, but I will try this week to get back on it and catch up in that regard. I know there's been like 3 podcasts that I haven't uploaded, so I'll get into that as ASAP. Be sure to join us next Thursday for another episode of Down in the Valley. And I will say this, once off season happens, the actual podcast will only be coming out once a month, unless there's some major news that gets broken. But other than that, I don't see a need to be going on every week. If anything, we can do something Down in the Valley gaming related every Thursday, but not the actual podcast. So just leaving it out there, let everybody know, let everyone of our fans know. So Jacob, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate all of your insight. You brought in a lot of good points on today's discussion, and we shall see you next week, man.
Yeah, see you next week.
All right,
should be a fun one.
Take care. We are Toros, somos Toros. And let's go rough up the Roughnecks. Take care.